What's up, guys? It's your girl Brianna, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to solve quadratic equations. Let's go. Now, the first thing that you have to understand about quadratic equations is that there are 4 different methods to solving. Now, I'm going to walk you through those 4 methods today. Now, what you need to have is your quadratic equation. And our quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Solving, we're going to use something called the factoring method. And essentially what the factoring method is finding your x values through factoring. So for our first sample equation, we're going to have x squared plus 5x minus 6 equals 0. And so as I said before, we need our quadratic formula, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And so as we can see, there's no number in front of our x value, which would automatically make our a value 1. So our a is going to equate to 1, our b is going to equate to 5, and then our c value is going to equate to -6. And so we're going to use something called the cross method. And essentially what the cross method is a times c on top, and then our b value on the bottom. And so what we're trying to find is 2 numbers that equate to our top number by multiplying, but also equate to our b value by adding. So you're going to have your a, and then you're going to have your c. Now, to check our answers, we're going to have to put our a value on the bottom for both factors. So you're going to have your a times c on the top, which is going to be -6. And then you're going to have your b value on the bottom, which is going to be +5. And now 2 numbers that equate to +5 and -6 are -1 and +6. And so you're going to divide by your a value, and then you're going to get 6 over 1, which is 6, so x plus 6. And then -1 over 1, which is x minus 1. So now we're still not done. We still have to solve it, equate it to 0. So what you're going to do is you're going to make room for the rest. So you're going to have x plus 6, which equates to 0. And then you're going to subtract 6 on both sides. And that is going to give you x equals -6. And then you're going to do the same thing. So you're going to have x minus 1 equals 0. And then you're going to do plus 1 on both sides. And that's going to give you x equals a +1. Next up, we have our square root method, and that is essentially solving through square roots to find your x value. And so our sample equation is going to be x squared equals 49. So now that you have that, you're going to find the square root of both of those, because the square root of x squared is going to be x, and your square root of 49 is going to be 7. Now, -7 squared can also equal to 49, just as +7 can equal to 49. So you're going to put a plus minus sign in front of your 7, because it's a possibility for a +7 and a -7 to equate to 49. Now, this is the simple way of solving it. Now, there is a more complex way of solving it, and I'm going to show you how with another equation, which is going to be x squared is equal to the square root of -18. Now, I know you may not be familiar with negative square roots, or even 18 having a square root. So we're going to solve this through factoring. So what are 2 numbers that when you multiply them together, you get -18? And we find our -9 and our 2. Now, because there are no negative square roots, we are going to use something called I. And essentially what I is, it's equal to -1 inside of a square root, because there are no negative square roots. So the square root of 9 is 3. So I times 3 would be on the outside of our square root. And so you can't simplify square root of 2. So your answer would have to be 3i square root of 2. And that is the more complex way of solving with your square root method. For our next method, we have the completing the square method, and that's essentially just solving more complex. So we have x squared plus 6x plus 1, which equates to 0. So within the completing the square method, you can't have anything that just equates to 0. So what you're going to do is subtract 1 from both sides, and then that's going to give you x squared plus 6, and you're going to leave your c value open, is equated to -1. And so you're going to divide your b value by 2, and whatever you get, you're going to square that, and then that would be your c value. Now, whatever you do on the left, you have to do on the right. So you would add 9 on both sides. So after you've done that, your b value has served its purpose. It's giving you your c value. So you're going to break apart your a value, which is your x squared. You're going to break apart that. You're going to break apart your c value, and that's going to give you x plus 3 times x plus 3 is equal to 8, because -1 plus 9 is equal to 8. Now, a easier way would be to just do x plus 3 squared, because that is essentially the same as x plus 3, and x plus 3 is equal to 8. Now, since you have your equation on the left side squared, you are going to have to find your square root. So you're going to do x plus 3 squared is equal to 8, and then you're going to square root both sides. And when you square root both sides, there is no equal square root of 8. So you are going to use factoring. And so what you can use is 4 times 2, which is equal to 8, and the square root of 4 is 2. 2 has no square root, so you're going to have your plus minus sign with the 2 on the outside, square root of 2. So then you're going to subtract your 3, because you are not done solving yet. Take your 3, subtract your 3 on both sides. which would essentially give you negative 3 plus minus 2 square root of 2. And because there are two different possibilities, there is an adding possibility and there's a subtracting possibility. So first, what you'll do is you do negative 3 plus 2 square root of 2, and that would give you negative 1 square root of 2. And then your second x value would be negative 3 minus 2 square root of 2, which will give you negative 5 square root of 2. For our last method of solving, we have our quadratic formula, which is essentially our most effective way of solving. So we have x squared minus 4x, which plus 1 equals 0. And so we're going to have our quadratic formula, which is going to be negative b plus minus our square roots of b squared minus 4 times a times c over our 2 times our a value. Now, our b value is already negative, so it is going to turn positive, which gives us positive 4 plus minus square root of negative 4 minus 4 times 1, because there is nothing in front of our x, and times 1 for our c. So we're going to go over 2 times our a value, which is 1, and we're going to simplify it so we can further solve. So we have 4 plus minus square root of 16, because no matter what, it's still going to be positive 16. Negative 4 times 1 is equal to negative 4 times 1. So we're going to have 16 minus 4, which is 12. 2 times 1, which is 2, which is going to give you 4 plus minus square root of 12 over 2. And so what I want you to do with this is simplify more. 4 plus minus 12 square root over 2. And then you are going to solve with your numbers. Now, you have 4 divided by 2, which equates to 2. Now that you know this, you are going to have your 12. There's no square root of 12, so you're going to factor out 4 times 3. Square root of 4 is 2, but there's no square root of 3, so we're going to leave that inside. So we're going to have our 2 on the other side, 2 plus minus square root of 3 with our 2 on the outside. And we can further simplify. So we are going to simplify. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So 2 plus minus square root of 3 is our answer. Yes.